Welcome to Suburban Warrior, the podcast that will impact, inspire, and empower you to transform your mindset and become the badass warrior that you are. I'm your host and fellow warrior, Chrissy Pfeiffer, former clinician and corporate marketing exec turned multi-passionate entrepreneur, performance and life coach, and mom to 4 not-so-little warriors. Each week, I will bring you honest conversations with inspiring guests to share their stories of resilience, optimism, success, and simple yet effective strategies so that you transform your thoughts and change your behavior to get the results you want in your life. You will be empowered to take action, warrior up, and believe in you. Let's do this. What's up, warriors? Welcome back to another episode of the Suburban Warrior podcast. Get ready, listeners, because this week is going to be yet another amazing episode because my Suburban Warrior that I have sharing her story today is sort of like a kindred spirit, I think, of mine. I feel like we're super on the same wavelength around mindset and thoughts and how you think can absolutely change your life. So let me introduce to you Amy Wilhelm. Amy's nature is to uplift others, but first she had to dig deeper to inspire and support herself consistently. In the aftermath of a contentious divorce, Skullcoaster, a sustainable design-driven streetwear brand, emerged like a flower from a crack in concrete. Amy discovered she could create something that merged her love of art and fashion while also sharing the authentic life tips that helped her create an empowered life. In the iconic imagery of the brand, the skull represents your mind and the roller coaster is the direction you take with your thoughts. You create the life you want from the inside out. That is skull coasting. Wow, I love it, Amy. It's so fun and so cool. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Chrissy. I'm very happy to be here. It's a pleasure. And I believe we're kindred spirits too, empowering ourselves and empowering, anybody who's in that same place where they don't know where they want to go, but they know how they want to feel. And that's where it starts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, while we talk a lot about our thoughts, creating our results and, obviously the thoughts come from within, but yet it is a community. It's a team effort. We all need to lean on each other, right? To, get us through the tough times or help us develop strategies and habits and in order to kind of get there. So that's why I'm really excited to hear your story and, you share your story with my listeners. So let's go back to sort of start and tell us about what was really happening in your life that kind of brought you to the point that you had to try to inspire others, or you were feeling like you needed deeper support to inspire yourself consistently. What was going on there?
Well, I think that everybody's sort of, if somebody was that in divorce, it's a different situation for everyone. But for me, it was sort of like everything that I kind of planned my life around was not going to be happening anymore. And I've always very much deeply believed in the law of attraction and your thoughts create your reality and all of that. But that's kind of like hard to swallow when everything seems to be going wrong. So I sort of learned that you can't necessarily control all these like large details, but you can kind of find little tricks and tools to feel better now. And for me, because I am such an overthinker by nature, I just simply can't afford to let that first thought turn into the next one, and all of that. Like I've got to nip it in the bud, or it is that, roller coaster ride that now I'm not in charge anymore. It's taking me like, the train is out of the station and there's nothing I can do about it. But, I thought, well, there's probably so many people who feel that way, who kind of want to reach for positivity, but also don't want to be judged for not doing it. Like that's kind of a whole thing I have with the brand. Is one of my main concepts is this idea that trying matters, that we're not going to be these rock star successes where we're thinking positively all the time. And I feel like there's a little bit of judgment in the positivity community of like, you can't have a bad day, or you've always got to turn your thought around. Sometimes you can't. And so Skullcoaster is kind of two things. It's all of that, the empowerment, right? But also, oh God, I just love art. I was an art history major. So the idea of having this logo that is the skull with the roller coaster and having a strong visual, and I'm having artists create their interpretation of that. And that's just like the fashion and the fun, and it's organic and sustainable. So totally psyched about that. And just kind of all my love coming together from a place of like, kind of like, not really so fun, not a real fun part of my life, but it's turned into something pretty fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's like a couple things that you were saying there that like I'd like to unpack a little bit more, because I do think one of the first things you said was about the change in the plan, right? Like sometimes life happens and what we think we envision for our future, or the actual plan that we have, all of a sudden something happens and there's a change in the plan. And I think those are pivotal moments in our lives, and they could be major moments or they could be not so moments, but it's still a change in the plan. And I feel like while it is like hard to swallow and things are going wrong, those are the times that you do have to dig a little bit deeper and think about like, and it's not about not feeling, right? Like you said, the positivity world, it's not about like not having a bad day or not being happy all the time, right? It's more so about feeling those feelings and going through it, but knowing that as long as you're not spiraling with the thoughts and believing a story that's not true for you, that you can go through it and come out even better, which sounds like, exactly what happened in your circumstance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And because all of the physical circumstances of my life were just, I wasn't living in my home anymore. I had no clue where my income was going to come from. Like this person who I thought was the love of my life, I wanted to spend like the rest of my life with, like that wasn't happening. And all the things that I had thought were stable, not stable. So I had to find to be happy and to be the person I wanted to be, and to, move on and say, okay, this is where we're at. I had to find a stability that really myself, my thoughts, my wishes, my dreams, my self-love, that has been a huge thing I've had to work on. Like, I can't even tell you the things that I uncovered about how judgmental I was to myself, and cruel almost. There was a moment I had, like, I don't know, I was in the bathroom, okay? And so we look in the mirror, and maybe we shouldn't sometimes. And like, of course, I was looking at like some fat or something I didn't like. And I just had this moment of like, stop being mean to me. Like, please, please stop being mean to me. You're the only one I've got. Like, I don't have another option, Abe. Like, it's you. If you're not nice to me, what do I have? And that idea that when it comes down to it, we are the voice in our head. And with effort and caring enough about me, little by little by little by little, I've been changing the way I talk to myself. And that's where my stability is.
Yeah. And that takes time, right? Like, it takes time because you have to notice those thoughts, and then you have to notice the negativity, and you have to notice how it's affecting you. And then it takes time to develop the habit of noticing and then changing those thoughts, right?
Yes, absolutely. It is. And I've come to look at it as, hey, it's a skill. It's a skill. There's nothing wrong with me for not having that skill. Most of us are not taught that skill from, a young age. Like, even if our parents were super kind to us, we probably grew up around them being like kind of hard on themselves. So you take that in, and it's nobody's intention to do that, but it's kind of a little bit starting from scratch. And you've got to understand it's not going to happen all at once. But you're kind of building, like any skill, you're kind of building it up. But for me, it's the most important thing in my life. That is, I do a number of things for work, including Skullcoaster, but that is my daily work. My daily work is to take care of myself. And then, then I'm useful to the world, but I've got to start there. And I'm such a loving, giving person. I feel like probably in my marriage and other relationships, a lot of it was about taking care of that and I may have lost myself a little bit in there. So it's fun to, discover that I can learn something. I just turned 50. So, I'm learning new things, and it makes me feel young, and it makes me feel empowered. And that's what I'm proud of,
Absolutely, as you should be. And I love the analogy that you use about the idea of Skullcoaster and how it sort of like emerged through like a crack in cement, because I do think powerful ideas come to us, right, in like very interesting ways. And sometimes we listen to that voice in our head. I mean, I believe that whatever you want to call it, the universe, God, higher, spirit speaks to us, right, all the time. And those powerful voices that are positive or giving us, intuition and giving us ideas come to us in the most random times. So I love the analogy that it just sort of emerged like a flower from a crack in the cement, because it really creates this beautiful picture of your life being very difficult, but then here comes this idea. Can you tell us a little bit about like how that happened for you? I'd love to hear that story.
Gradually. So I 100% agree that we have this basis of help and guidance that is I like to think of it almost as like our broader mind that's kind of connected to the universe, or there are a lot of different words that people use for that. God, and all of them encompass that. And so I think it kind of just started trickling in because I needed this so much in my life. But then I was also kind of looking at, I love t-shirts. So that's part of it. I wear them all the time. And honestly, a little bit of this was, hey, there's not stuff I really love wearing. And there's not a lot of people doing like kind of like cool, edgy stuff with the sustainable side of things. It's not that, I don't know. I kind of like that like motorcycle t-shirt, like, grungy, like band.
Yeah,
like
me too.
I love that look. And so I think that started percolating too of, hey, wouldn't it be cool if this brand represented all this stuff, but then on the other side of it, maybe somebody just loves the way the t-shirt looks. And isn't that cool that there's kind of like this hidden message? So you can either come to it through, the design, which I just love. I just love skulls and, the roller coaster and it, like there's all these different ways that you can do it, or that the message speaks to you. And I like that integrated of those,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I'm right there with you because I have a Suburban Warrior. I have a Suburban Warrior apparel line. And for me, I call them mindset reminders, right? So like when you're wearing something that you feel good in, or that you feel empowered in, and that you feel strong in, right? Whether it says Suburban Warrior, or it's just a cool message, or a cool decal, a skull, whatever it may be, when you put something on that makes you feel badass, then you're going to act badass the whole day, and you're going to think like a badass the whole day. So for me, I love that the continuity of what you're putting on, how you're thinking, how you act. I think it 100% affects your results in the end. I was thinking more like, so, we all have these thoughts and ideas like, okay, let's start a company. Let's write a book. I'm going to go back to school. I mean, no matter what it is, right? A lot of us are busy women. We have a lot going on. What was the bridge for you to say, okay, I have these thoughts. I love skulls. I love art. I want to tie it into mindset. I want, your thoughts to really create your life from the inside out, to actually putting that into action. Like how, like,
it's honestly, I think it's just, I reached out, I'm also a writer. And so I reached out to an artist who did one of my book covers, and we started throwing some ideas around, and the stuff he came up with was kick ass. So like, it's just like sort of one thing led to another, and then talking to, so it's almost like, I love the phrase, take one step towards Allah, he'll take two towards you. So just by trying this whole concept that I have with Skullcoaster, like, okay, like, I mean, that's what, Chrissy, that's how it feels like every single step of my life. Like, okay, like I'll try this. It's a little bit of this edge of your edge of your seat, like flying by the seat of your pants, like I'm mixing metaphors, but that kind of feeling is almost perpetual for me. And I'm realizing that's what I felt when I was a little kid. Yeah. I was just like, oh, okay, like this looks like fun. Like, let me try that. And like, okay, I guess I'm doing this, not this like cautiousness or this overthinking. And so when I'm in that space, I'll see somebody, my streetwear is being featured in some of the stuff in Pride in LA. And that was just somebody who reached out to me and it felt right. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's have Skullcoaster there. So it's trusting my intuition. It's understanding. It's this continually evolving thing. The more I do that, the more I trust it. But then I got to look at the other side of it. I know from my past experience, things that you think are stable may not be. So this is my opinion, we're just fooling ourselves if we think certain circumstances are like reliable no matter what. So just go with it. That's life. Life is, this unfolding journey. So just own it. Sounds like you're there too, Christy.
I am. And I love, the words that you use to say, I'll try this. I'll try. Because I think that as adults, we really do, we're just more cautious, and we don't think like we did when we were a kid. And it's amazing to see because especially I have 4 kids and I see them all and as they're growing up and I remember being like them, even when they're really a pain in the ass. Like, I was like, oh my God, that was so me when I was 16, because we just think differently. And then we, which is a good thing and a bad thing in a way, because that this caution that we take on and fear of trying new things or fear of putting ourselves out there, so I think that phrase, like, I'll try this, or let's just try it, is really a great motto to take on, to just say, well, why not? Because like you said, you try one step and then the next and the next, and next thing you know, you have an apparel brand.
Right. And the one piece I do use, and this is something from, the Abraham Hicks Law of Attraction stuff, is when you're making a decision, pay attention to how you're feeling. Like, what kind of space are you in when the idea comes to you? So that is one thing that, even though, I'll just like, sure, I'll try it. I pay intense attention to how I'm feeling when that, decision making is happening. If I need to take a couple of days to see how it's fitting, all of that kind of thing, I definitely highly recommend that. There's not much we have to decide like on the fly. Like, so just kind of not being overly careful, but actually being that, like, the one thing I am super diligent about is like, okay, how do you feel? Like, did this idea come to you like when you were in a negative spiral, or did this idea come to you when you were on the beach and, looking at the birds and like, it's just like poof. So just kind of using that, like we have so much guidance. We have so much guidance if we listen.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I totally couldn't agree more. I think paying attention to how we feel and our energy when we're making certain decisions, right? Or when we're moving forward with things, our energy really does help to guide us and dictate where we're at. And so I love that you brought up that point, because I think more and more, we all make decisions, right? And you kind of know when you're making some decisions, you're like hesitant and you're not sure if it's right. And then you make it and something happens and you're like, I knew that was not going to work out. You already knew, but you still went forward. And I think the more we can tune in to that guidance and that message, the better off we are, because we have to like really trust in that intuition that we know what's best for ourselves.
Yep. And that's another whole piece of Skullcoaster, is listening to your voice. And we're all, most of us, I know I can speak for myself, subtly and sometimes not so subtly, very influenced by outside voices. So we were talking before about the practice and the skill of tuning that out. And it takes courage. And that what I've been learning is it doesn't need to make sense to anyone else, and you don't have to explain yourself, but you have to feel good with it. And you've got to be okay with other people not understanding. And that's been a journey for me, because I want everyone to like me. And it's just not going to happen. I'm not going to have a happy life if that's the criteria for it.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's the majority of people, right? I mean, the majority of people want to be liked. Majority of people want other people to understand them or like them or, or agree with what they're doing. And at the end of the day, you just have to get to a point where you say, I'm doing this for me. This makes sense for me. And to those that are with me, great. And that those that aren't, that's fine too.
Yeah. And that's understanding that where your heart is, in your heart, when you're in a good place and you're making decisions from that place. And I really believe when we tend to that first, then the actions that we're taking that involve other people are going to be good for them, going to be good for the world. I mean, I don't know anyone who is pursuing a passion that comes from the heart and is in such a joyful place with that. And then is like mean to people. It's like that process tunes you in to being integrated in the world that's good with everyone else in it too.
Absolutely. So because you're sort of so tuned into this, is there something that you do on a daily, like a daily practice or a habit, something that you do to help you yourself sort of strengthen this thought process, to help your mindset, to help guide your thoughts, asking the right questions, like that sort of thing? Like, do you meditate? Do you have a daily practice? Do you read? Like, What is it that works for you? Could you share that?
Well, yes, there are 3 things that I do daily. We'll say 4 that are my personal baseline for the things that keep me connected to me and to that broader guidance. I do meditate every single day. And I start off each day, I have a notebook and I write an intention for my day. And at night, before I go to bed, I put something in my notebook. It's a different notebook. So I have the intention notebook in the morning. Before bed, I have an appreciation notebook and something that I appreciate. And sometimes what is written in that book is, I got through today, hope tomorrow's better. So it isn't that, I mean, I'm pretty happy. I really am. But some days that's just get through the day. Some days it's like, okay, let's just not make it worse. This is a very crappy day, but let's not do anything that extends the crappiness. Like,
totally.
Putting something on my credit card that like I'm going to have to pay for like, the next year because I can't afford it or something like that. Like, just don't make it worse. Right. And then I do, I work out every single day. That is essential for me. So those are kind of, those are my baselines. And I've developed them. I had to add the appreciation thing when I go to bed because I'm such an overthinker. I was like, okay, I've got to just stop the brain purposely.
Yeah.
And so I let that be. And that doesn't always work, just like everyone else. Sometimes I'm up at 3 thinking stupid stuff. Like, right. So, we're human. And I think you were saying before, authenticity, well, before we started. And I just want more people to know, like, we're all just trying. Like, we look at these other people, like people look at me and they say, oh, what a happy, positive person. Like, yeah, but I also, number 1, I work my ass off for that. But number 2, it's not always like that. And when I'm feeling pretty crappy, I usually stay home.
Yeah. I don't want to be around people when I feel crappy.
Yeah. Right. I hunker down. And you're not going to see me out and about when I'm at my worst because I know better than to do that to myself. Like, I know I just need to be like, okay, like we're just kind of checking out a little bit today and tomorrow will probably be better. And it always does. Always.
It always is. Absolutely. I think those 4 things are amazing. I think, obviously physically working out, the meditation is mental workout, listening to guidance, it's huge. And then intentions and appreciation. I mean, those 4 things are, I mean, if people aren't doing any of those and they pick one and start doing it, it'll make a difference in their life. And you're doing all 4. So I think that's amazing. So tell us a little bit more about the clothing line. So I know that obviously the skull with the coaster, that's the brand. I love, the imagery of it. I love the thought that the roller coaster is the direction that you want to take your thoughts. Again, that's a major mindset reminder. And it is super cool. Like, I love the edginess of the brand. So tell me about, like, okay, so it's t-shirts. Where can people find it? What's a little bit more about the actual clothes?
So it's skullcoaster.com. I also am on TikTok, so I have a TikTok store and Instagram store. But the direction that it's going is we are having limited editions based on one artist's concept of what this Skullcoaster imagery looks like. So I'm working with Aloysius McIlwain right now, and he's an artist out of Philly. Actually, like, his work was just featured on the Bel Air, and Peacock, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. And he's doing a design in his style.
Awesome.
So that will be a limited edition run. So it's this idea. So I love that too, that we all have these different voices and these different interpretations. And so his Skull and Roller Coaster is very, very different than what I have now. And we will be doing that going forward, pairing with different artists. Some of them might be based in graffiti, and we'll do some of the word art. I have one that's called Kind of Cool. And that's kind of the concept too. Like, yeah, like kind of cool. Like, we don't have to be like soft and fluffy to be kind. Like, we can, have our kind of badass stuff. Like, that's my style. So it's all of that. And but mostly online. And we're going to start to do some, different live locations, not a brick and mortar, but like some festivals, things like that. But it's pretty exciting. And I'm just letting that grow in the direction it wants to be, because you had said before, these ideas come to us, but it's also the Skullcoaster itself is becoming its own thing that's almost like a little separate from me. So I want to honor that and let it grow in the way that it wants to, as more people get involved in it.
I love that. I love it. I love that it's sort of becoming more than, like, not just you, right? It's more than you, and it's becoming probably more than what you even envisioned. So as long as you like keep on with the process and one step at a time, then you know that it's really just all going to work out, and it's going to be successful, and it's going to impact people in the way that maybe you've never even imagined that it would.
Exactly. I do have some blogs I'm doing, and I've developed this concept that skull coasting as a verb, I think we talked about this in the beginning, is the idea of you are doing that trying. You've got these things in your heart and your mind, and you're just doing them. And so I've been doing different interviews with musicians who are like just at the beginning of their careers and are doing that. Or I just, I have a friend who is a freestyle soccer champion, and he's doing that. I mean, he's like, skull coasting. So it'd be kind of cool. Like, I would love that one day if like that becomes a word that people use, if it resonates with people. I don't feel any attachment to how people respond to this. It's out there. This is what I'm doing. If it resonates, that's great. If not, there's so many other different things in the world. So I love that we live in a world of choice. And I really want people to just, decide for themselves, whatever it is. Just decide. You matter. Your voice matters.
Absolutely. I love that. Your voice does matter. And I do love the imagery and the skull coasting, because I do think it's impactful. So I hope it resonates with people as well, especially those that are looking to train their thoughts or change their thoughts to make their life better from the inside out. So Amy, thank you so much for joining me today. I really loved our conversation. I think your clothes are super cool, super edgy, super badass. And I would encourage all of my listeners to go on your website and check them out.
Hey, thanks, Chrissy. Thanks for having me. It's really, truly, I know we use these words like it was a pleasure, it's an honor, whatever. Isn't it such a blessing just to, like, we've never met before.
Yeah.
And this connection and this, we're doing the same thing in different ways. And I don't know, it's very emotional to me. It's very powerful to know that we're out there and we find each other.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's like this amazing world that we live in that somehow connects us. And when we are connected, you realize like, wow, it's really awesome to like, meet people who are doing the same thing in different ways. And really it's just all about growth and empowering each other, right? And making sure that everybody's good, right? Let's just be good. Let's be good to each other,
I love that.
Yeah. So thank you so much, guys. Check out skullcoaster.com, Amy's website. You can also find her on TikTok. I'm going to check you out. I can't wait. And Instagram. And as always, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast. We'd love to hear your feedback. And you can find me on Suburban Warrior on Instagram. And I look forward to seeing you all next week with another amazing warrior story for you. Have a great day, guys.